Welcome, Exile. Are you tired of looking into the iShot forums, looking at Deadeye Ranger builds endlessly throughout the list, finding out that it requires 50 exalts to even mirrors to get a decent amount of single target DPS? And you wonder, how can I get that amazing clear on a budget? And then you finally invest into the character, right? You spend all the money only to die because you have a 4.5k life pool on an evasion character. Well, I present to you guys the build for you. Continue watching. I hope you guys enjoy what you see.
They will all abandon you when they learn the truth.
Until we slaughter you! Do not just need a moment to catch my breath.
What is up, you beautiful people? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw prior to this. The build has been an absolute success, right? I have managed to make a ranger build that kept everything that makes a ranger, right? The movement speed, the clear, right? The kiting, the range, and everything, while also having a substantial life pool and defenses where you're not scared to run a dangerous map. And you can say that I can actually survive in a build like this, right? So I have accomplished my goal, and I wanted to show you guys what has been done. For you guys' knowledge, I have made two POB links down below. One is the budget version, and then my version. My version is the budget version, and the other version is just an expensive version. It's just, and you just swap out the chin soul for an actual bow that you should pick up. And a bow like this should be way better. You'll see in the POB down below, just a good DPS bow with crit and additional arrows. It's very expensive. That's why I'm not recommending it. But it'll allow you to drop all the knockback, so you won't have to deal with that annoying mechanic. But on the chin soul, you should, you have to deal with it, unfortunately. So with that, guys, I do stream on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays on twitch.tv/Kogaras. If you guys want to catch me, I'm working on my next project already, which is going to be Flicker Strike. I have never played a Flicker Strike build because my latency is literal garbage, but we're going to try to make it work, and hopefully, it does well. I've already made a POB for one of my community members that I'm going to be kind of following and perfecting, and he's already level 93. He's been enjoying it like so much, right? He's having a blast of it. He's enjoying min-maxing. So to this day, as we speak, he's literally playing the character right now and, fucking around with it. And he's killed everything in the game easily, with crazy amount of DPS, over 10 million. Of course, his gear is pretty good, but I'm going to try to make it a little bit more budget, a little bit more perfected to what I think is going to be really good to make Flicker viable for every boss in the game. Episode Duff. We can't do with that. Nothing we can do there. But with that, guys, let's go into the montage. And then, of course, the informative section about the build. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys there. What's up, guys? Hope you guys enjoyed the montage, and let's get into the nitty-gritty about the build. The build's called Chili Squishy, a trickster. I expect him to be a bit more squishier than he really is, but he turned out to be pretty tanky, so I'm very happy there. Of course, we are a trickster, and the main reason why we are a trickster is because he gives us the potential to turn our evasion gear into energy shield gear, because of this one node on the tree called Escape Artist, which known as Escape Artist, which gives us 1% of maximum ES per 6 evasion on your body armor, meaning you can put on an evasion armor and it gives you, what is it, energy shield. And High Desire has a great energy shield, I mean a great evasion and great damage and dodge, which is a good defensive option, but his main downside was life. And it gave you basically like a 7 link. It was almost as good as an added cold gem. And it's insane for the build because we were in a cold build, but it had no life. But if we play a trickster, this now High Desire, which has no life, gives us about 1,500 energy shield, basically turning its one downside into an upside. Very, very nice. And it's also damage, so it makes up for the fact that this Ascendancy is not a damage Ascendancy, because now we can use a damage chest piece. On top of that, the helmet gives you now 5 evasion per 1 ES with a 300 evasion, 300 ES helmet. We now have 1,500 evasion from this damn helmet alone. So just with these two pieces, we're sitting at 33% chance to evade, and it looks small mainly because we have 40% less evasion with Wind Dancer. We take it off, right, and we're at 45. But of course, when we're hit with Wind Dancer, our evasion goes up to 50 something, not including blind, and of course not including dodge, which we rolled separately. So with blind and everything, we're roughly looking at 70-80% chance to evade, which is insane. Really good defensive, because now that we have a high chance of evasion, we can recover and, you know, leech our energy shield back up insanely quickly with Ghost Reaver, and of course energy shield leech gem on both our single target and our clear, right? But with Wind Dancer and our good life pool, if we were to take a hit, we can easily tank it with no problems. Very good, and it's a great combination. I highly recommend it. But as you guys can see from the tree, is your generic tree. It's based, there are no clusters other than this one main one over here, which I'm gonna briefly go over. And it's a very common combination in a majority of cold builds, especially mine, where cold conduction means if you hit an enemy and they're chilled, it has to be a hit. So like, you know, Ice Shot, Blade Vortex, things like that. When you hit them with a chilling hit, it shocks them for 15%, which means it's a 15% increased damage taken just like that. And then you combine that with Storm Rider, and when you shock a chilled enemy, which obviously when we hit them, they're chilled because of cold conduction, they're shocked. And since they're shocked, we have a 10% chance to get a power charge. This is basically power charge on hit, is these two nodes. So this node gives us 50% increased damage taken, and with 3 power charges, 120% chance to crit. Amazing, but due to the nature of medium clusters, both of these are prefixes, so you can't alt them. You have to alt one and then wriggle the other, and they're both rare. So a jewel like this is around 2 exalts. It took me a while to get it. I couldn't craft it myself, so I highly recommend just buying it flat out. But until then, just use a cold conduction jewel and don't even bother with the other node until you can do it. So just use a blue one. And then the other one is a very cheap energy from Not. You can buy this for very cheap. Try to get some other nodes you need, like strength or whatever resistances you need. I only need a strength for now, and the thing like this is very, very cheap. That's the only cluster, because fortunately for us, there's just so much damage, right? Like I had to sacrifice so much damage. I didn't get Primeval Force, right? There's so much damage here, you know, aspect of the eagle, things like that. And there's even this crit multi node that I'm still going for, I haven't gotten. There's so much damage on this tree that there's no reason to get a cluster jewel, especially cluster jewels for bowls are really shitty. So the tree is just generic as hell. It's basically bow nodes, crit nodes, some little bit of accuracy nodes, using a lionized fall here to convert all these claw nodes into bow nodes. This is amazing because it gives us a lot of crit and crit multi and blind on hit. But of course we have Pandemonium, so we don't need blind there. But if you don't have Pandemonium, you still get blind anyway. Great. For defenses, we don't need to use Soul Raker because we have leech from Energy Shield leech, right? And we have our mana leech from down here, saving us a point. And we can also pick up this node, which is great, which gives us a lot of the accuracy that we need. Since we, you know, as a CI character, we have an issue trying to get accuracy. I'll go over my gear eventually. It gives us good attack speed, movement speed, and phasing on kill, which is very good for the build. You know, lets you zoom to maps quicker. This is a great combination, right? This is so much more damage. The only downside to this build really is that we can't pick up phase acro because acrobatics lowers our energy shield by 30%. The only way for you to actually do this is you have to get a small thread of hope, like this one, but a small one, and you can pick it up. But then you have to drop your lionized fall, and I don't think that was worthwhile. We have enough evasion anyway that I don't think this was really needed, but it's there. But the damage is very important in a build like this because we do not have a lot of damage on the budget setup. So this is better. I highly recommend it. I was fine without phase acro, but it's still an option with a thread of hope if you want to go for it. You cannot reach it with this one. I've tried and it doesn't work. This thread of hope is amazing because you can actually slot it in here, right? Pick up this crit node. You can even pick the blind here, but we already have blind. We don't need it. Good for evasion, but hey, I didn't really care about that. We're good anyway, but it's there if you want it. Forces of nature is really good for damage and pen. We get this node for movement speed, crit chance, attack damage, and then it gives us stats that we need, like intelligence. Same thing with artistry, gives us 10% attack speed and strength, which we needed. And most importantly, you can get these two nodes here, which are the last remaining cold conversions we need. Since ice shot over here converts 60%, this little 40% means we have 100% conversion in the build to cold. Perfect. That's all we need. And it saves us a lot of points. Since we're not live, we can't go through here. Not efficient. Right, we still pick up the bow nodes over here. We still get point blank, obviously. Fangs of Frost, super efficient. And then originally I had my crit multi up here, but I dropped it because Wind Dancer was just that good for the same amount of points. But you know, you could drop it. I don't recommend it because the damage taken does affect dots. You know, damage taken is everything. And since technically a dot doesn't hit you, if we're on a dot from, let's say, shape or the balls or something like that, and we haven't been hit recently, we take less damage from that too, which is amazing. Right? And of course, we pick up the ES nodes up here and the ES nodes up here, and there's still more damage, right? Like we can take up Snow Forge, we can put the Throat Seeker. It's amazing. You can even go into Thread of Hope here and try to get a Heart of Ice. It was an option too, but I felt like it was only like a very small margin increase for one more point more expensive, and we had to deal with the minus resistance from the jewel. I didn't think it was worthwhile, so I didn't do it. Right? And of course, we're chaos inoculation, so we're immune to chaos damage. Another great bonus to the build, as we're tankier than the average evasion character, which has to deal with their negative chaos res, and chances are you're not going to have chaos res in your build. Good luck with that. So, you know, adding to the defense of the build. Now, of course, for Trickster, main reason, we get Escape Artist to get a lot of evasion, energy shields from evasion chest piece. On top of that, for CR character, we want to use Void Fletcher, which gives you that insane amount of insane amount of damage with the void shots, right? It just gives you cold damage, is great, cold resistance. But the main cool thing is it gives you energy shield. This quiver gives you 400 energy shield, making it a great addition for a CI build. So if you socket this into a life build, you have less life on top of that, making it more worthwhile to go CI. Right? On top of that, Ghost Dance makes you immune to stuns when you have a Ghost Shroud. Actually, I think Escape Artist makes you cannot be stunned with Ghost Shrouds. Ghost Dance gives you those Ghost Shrouds, which gives you about 3 times 6, which is 18% attack speed and cast speed, which is great for, you know, the damage that we're losing. You get reduced damage taken per shroud. And on top of that, when we take a hit, the Ghost Shrouds will heal us 4% of our evasion. And since we have around, let's say, around 12k evasion when we get hit with Wind Dancer, we're talking about 400 to 500 ES on hit that we will recover. Great for the build. Imagine it like ES on block. The only downside to this is we still are not immune to stun, because anything that hits you for like very small damage will take a Ghost Shroud, right? Which means now we're susceptible to stuns. But things like Soul of the Brine King will counteract that, so that if all your Ghost Shrouds are gone, you still have this to, you know, avoid the stun, and then you can back off, run away, and recover your Ghost Shrouds and be immune to stun again. So these two combined means you're immune to stun, which is one of the main issues of a CI character. On top of that, we can just put it in an immune to freeze flask, and you're good to go for the second weakness. Right, on top of that, we get Weave the Arcane, which we get 20% increased attack speed. We get some mana cool stuff. Our movement skills don't cost mana, which is whatever, and we don't really need it. But it gives you that mana, which helps with the ores that we have in the build, since we do have to run a discipline, which takes up a lot of mana. And then we have reduced damage taken, which is great. But the cast speed is awesome, so when we dash, you get 20% increased attack speed. For this very reason, because I don't want to constantly be dashing during a boss fight, I put phase run on walk since an instant. So while you're fighting, you can be phase running at the same time, as you guys can see here. Phase run again. And we have both, you know, the buff and that, which is great. And we don't have to keep dashing like a madman. And it's also good for movement speed while running away, you know, if your quick silver is down. So I thought that was a brilliant choice on my part, not to be egotistical or anything, but it's a smart choice. I highly recommend it. And then Harness the Void is just damage. This is equivalent to the Deadeye point, the chain, the 10% more damage. It basically gives you 10% increased more damage. That's all it is, right? So we lose the additional arrow from Deadeye, you know, from that main thing from Deadeye and Tailwind, but we can pick up Tailwind boots really easily this league with just augmenting crit. Because if you have a Redeemer or a Hunter, just you want Hunter in this scenario, boot, if you just aug crit or just reforge with crit, you're guaranteed Tailwind because it's the only crit modifier on the boots. That's all you need. So I used to reforge the defense on the pair of boots until you got a decent amount of energy shield. Like in this case, I got my flat ES and my max ES, and I got int on it, right? And then I just ogged a crit because I had an og crit there, and I got guaranteed tailwind, and I grabbed movement speed, and I was all. If you have really good stats and useless ones, try to remove them with remove add, things like that, right? And that was pretty much it, right? And that's the only reason you want to go trickster, because you get good defense and so great damage. Because while we lose the effect of tailwinds, we get so much attack speed. We get literally 36, or what is it? 3 times 6 is 18. It's actually 38% increased attack speed, which more than makes up for the loss of tailwind effect from trickster, making him a very viable option because now you're able to use a high Zyra, which is a damage source for the build, right? Good synergy. That pretty much covers the tree, but just try to get other life nodes while you're leveling. And while leveling, you just pick up eye shot or any bow you want and just use that. Use split arrow. Just use any bow skill that you think is fun until you get to use eye shot, and then you can pop in a chain. I highly recommend that you get unique bows like Storm Cloud and things like that until you get your Death's Harp. Upgrade it to your Death's Opus, which will carry you all the way to the end of the game until you have your Chin Soul for single target, and then you can weapon swap between both of them. But that covers the tree. Let's go into the gear, which is very important. For single target, you want to use Chin Soul mainly because 50% more damage with arrow hits is massive, and you really need a crazy bow to replace that. And it does affect Void Shot because it is an arrow. You shoot an arrow, right? Which is amazing. 6 link ones are super cheap. I got it for 2 exalts. Just try to aim, like the fizz damage is important, but you really want to aim for the attack speed. On top of that, right? So my 6 link is basically damage on full life. Damage on full life is great for CI. Since we have 1 life out of 1, we're always at full life no matter what, making this an amazing damage horse for a CI character. Hypothermia, because more damage while you're chilled. Barrage, of course, because that's your ramp. Single target adds additional arrows. And Barrage is the only way that you can unleash all your void shots that we get from the quiver at one point, all at once. Energy Leech for survivability, and it's a great damage source. Elemental damage, and then Eye Shot. Try to get a level 21 Eye Shot. I corrupted it, I didn't get one, because it does add added cold, as you see on the gem, which is great for damage, right? And your quiver is going to be a Void Fletcher. Basically, it gives you damage, gives you the ES, gives you cold res, and you get the Void Charges for a lot of burst DPS, because while you barrage, you shoot out 5 of those Void shots, times the additional arrows. So in my scenario, I only have 3 because of Dying Sun. It'll be 3 times 5, will be 15 arrows. But if you do, in the high budget version, there'll be a bow. And the only thing that can really replace this is basically a 400 to 500 PDPS bow with at least 1 additional arrow, ideally 2. Sounds crazy, but you also needed to have crit. That's why it's expensive, and that's why I just went with Ancient. So I highly recommend getting a spine bow. I wouldn't get a Harbinger. Getting a spine bow with good ones, like that mirror bow that had 3 additional arrows. You kind of want to create something like that for your top end. That is the best bow that you can possibly ever get, especially for a CI character like this, because it has cold damage on it. So if you have a mirror that bow. Oh yeah, but that bow's amazing because now we have what, 3 additional arrows, which will make 6 arrows times 5 will be 30. We go from 15 void shots to 30. That's in doubling the void shot damage, which is insane. But you get the point. This more than makes up with the 50% more multiplier, because it is between the calculation, which is more than just adding an extra arrow. Right now, the main point of a Void Fletcher is you do not want the pierce. You see the pierce there? This is my pierce, so I didn't care about it. I do have another one there that I found just now after killing Uber Elder with this character, and I vaulted it and actually removed it, and it's cost more money. The reason why it costs more money is that in Snare, which you usually see this little arrow thing that you usually see in bleed builds, is not just for bleed, guys. Ensnaring arrow makes the enemy take 20% increased projectile damage, which is technically a more multiplier at the end of the calculation, so it's not as much, but you get the point. That we link with Curse on Hit with projectile weakness. That means that they take, what is that, 74% increased damage taken. Of course, with the projectile, the curse effect of, boss and things like that, they'll go from 54 to probably like, I don't know, 20. It's still 40% increased damage taken. It's insane. You cannot ensnare the enemy if it pierces through them. They have to stick to the enemy. If it pierces, it wouldn't snare. So you want to remove the arrow's pierce. It costs you, a good chunk. It costs around 90 C to get a Void Fletcher right now without pierce on it. Or you can use Bio and Corrupted, hope to God to get +1 additional arrows. That'd be top end, but that's like 30 to 40 exalts or something like that. You get the point. Right? Not necessary, but that's your top end mirror version. You can take this bullet as far as you want, but that's the point. You do not want pierce for your single target. So have one for your clear and then have the other one without it. I got this one for pretty cheap, and I did vault one myself when I killed Uber Elder. But of course, I'm already done with the build, so I'm selling it. And that's your quiver, essentially, and that's basically your mirror build that you want. But you can use a Chin Soul. For your clear, you want a Death's Opus because since it gives you 2 additional arrows, you can drop GMP. And the reason for this is because we don't have chain from Deadeye, we have to use the chain gem, which means it goes into our link and it lowers our damage. It's less damage. So we had 2 less damage, but could have been 1 with more. So dropping GMP is amazing because it's a big as less multiplier, giving us, you know, the chance to put in more damage. You go from less to more, you're roughly doubling your DPS for clear. And it made a humongous difference. I highly recommend it. And you get the additional arrows. Try to get a Death's Opus for the additional arrow and the more damage. And if you get a 6 link, you should be able to one-shot even more than what you saw in the video. I've only been running on a 5 link for my clear. Ideally, not ideally, I used to run it on my higher desire and just use a Chin Soul, which you could too, but it felt like shit because for the same reasons you had a lot less damage. Because you have to put chain and GMP. So I recommend Death's Opus is very cheap. Just buy one, you know. So with that, that leaves our question is, of course, you want a higher desire. They're very substantially cheap. You can get a cheap one with like really bad evasion, but I highly recommend getting a lot of evasion because it's technically ES as well, because it's of Trickster. Try to get one with a decent amount of damage. You get the point. I didn't know what to put in here anymore, so I just, after I took it out, so I used to put cast some damage take and summon as Golem and Immortal Call just for survivability. You can put whatever else you want here, like a curse if you have dual curse or awakening curse. You can play around with it, play whatever you want, but I recommend, you know, some sort of cast some damage taking setup. Of course, we want a Frost Bomb so we can lower their minus 25 resistance on top of all the penetration, and that's pretty much all you want in the, you know, the chest piece. You can mess around with that as much as you want. Now the helmet. Now, all you really need is a Uber Circle with as much energy shield as possible. Try to aim for 300 or higher. 250 is great as starting out, but 300 or higher is ideal. Easy to craft with Reforged defense and add defense and things like that with Harvest crafting. You know, you can get an eye shot one for fairly cheap. Just make sure it's eye level 85 because eventually, if you do want to max it out, you want to Exalt Slam it with Redeemers, and you can get the -9 cold res to nearby enemies. And since we're close range, it works out. But that's very expensive. I didn't even use it. Some guy liked the build and made it in an hour. That's how fast he did it. So it's definitely possible. I just didn't want to deal with it because the build's already done for me. But that's what you basically want. Just get a Huber Circle with the cold enchant, and they're fairly cheap because you usually don't use a Huber Circlet 5-head for ACI an eye shot character. So that makes it very cheap. And here all I have is my dash with phase run and second wind, so I can second wind as much as I want and phase dash as much as I want. The cool thing is that phase run does not take a dash cooldown. Very nice. And then I have grace on its own, or not grace, Vol Grace only, so we can get more dodge and makes us cap our dodge chance during those moments where you really need to, you know, like be careful, like a Legion encounter or something like that, right? Just good for defense. Your gloves, all you really want is accuracy because we do want to hit that magical 100% chance to hit. I have 99, but with my Eyes Golem, let me pop them real quick. I'm at 100. I'm fine with that. You know, the extra 99 was just too much investment to get 100. But ideally, you want 99 to 100 right there in that range. Then you're moving because you're annoying. So try to get as much as you want. Get a lot of energy shields. 150 to 200 is great with all the res you need. If you have room for attack speed, go for it. Though I don't think you could. In my scenario, I wanted to remove the mana and try to get a hybrid mod, but I never got around to it. Doesn't matter. And here we just have that curse on hit. It's basically projectile weakness, Mirage Archer, Ensnare, and curse on hit. So what happens is it's basically a double debuff. We shoot an arrow, it's a debuff, making them take more damage. That arrow then curses them, making another debuff that makes them take more damage. And then the Mirage Archer spawns and then keeps hitting them, so it stays on the enemy. And since the Ensnare has a movement penalty, it slows the enemy down, and it stacks up to 3 times the movement penalty. So it's great for CC. When something's rushing you, you can hit with Ensnare and slow them down and kite them. And Mirage Archer will help you with that. You don't have to aim that. Great for you know, the build, and you don't have to buy a curse on hit ring. And that's pretty much our debuff setup. For your boots, this is where you really want just get how much energy as possible. 150 to 200 ideal. Try to get Tailwind. All you do is Aug crit, just that. I know the base can be expensive. It's around 1 to 2x, but Tailwind is great if you want more attack speed. And since we have so much increased, the more multi from Tailwind is massive. Highly recommend it. Here we have our auras. You want Enlightened, level 3. Ideally level 4, I'll explain now. With Hatred, Field of Ice, for clear. And then, of course, Discipline, with Vol Discipline helping you out as well for surviving. Now, with a level 3 Enlightened, you need a Conqueror's Efficiency and this node to fit all your auras with minimal, right, mana to do a double attack, right? We have enough mana to attack twice, And if you're constantly leeching, you should have no mana problems, right? But you need a Conqueror's Efficiency, which is kind of stupid. I hate it, but it's cheap. It's 50C. But if you have the 5 Exalts to drop for an Aladdin level 4, you can drop the Conqueror's Efficiency and get some more damage, whatever you want. But you still need this node, by the way. It's great. So I highly recommend it. But yes, try to get a level 4 Enlightened so you can use whatever jewel you want here for more energy shield and damage. But that pretty much allows you to run all the auras. And yes, while you're leveling, you get more mana, guys. So you may not be able to fit. Like if you're level 81 with my exact same setup, you probably still won't be able to have enough mana. So keep that in mind. Once you get to the higher levels, your mana pool will increase, allowing you to have more mana to hit with your attacks. So keep that in mind. If that becomes an issue you come across of. So that's our boots. For your belt, you just basically want energy shield, strength, because strength is an issue, whatever else you need, and then wed. Super easy. The wed, you can just do aug attack, and basically one of the, I think the only attack mod you can possibly get is elemental damage or attack skills. So it's super easy to buy one of these, especially energy shield stingy visors are very cheap. I got this for like 30C, dude. And then I removed some shitty mod there and crafted damage on it. So it's a great belt. And then for your abyssal, you want to get ES attack speed and then try to get fire damage so your Cinder Swallow will proc. Shin Soul already has fire damage on it, so you don't really need that for a single target, but your Death's Opus does not. So for your clear, you ideally want some fire damage so you get that more multi for your clear. For the debuff for Cinder Swallow. That's pretty much it. Very cheap jewels, nothing crazy. You can get some whatever res you need. And then for your ring, Circles of Spheres are super fucking cheap now, because no one's using them. You want to Herald Device, reduce mana reservation because we have mana problems, and cold damage. That's all you want. And then for your implicit, I got one with Wed for very cheap, so I got lucky. But you can go for accuracy to cap your accuracy, for global accuracy, some cold damage, Wed, strength, whatever you need. I highly recommend going accuracy if you want more accuracy or the Wed damage. Right? That's great. And then the other ring is the filler ring. You want ES, accuracy, damage. Just Wed. You can grab it yourself too, up to 20%, which is great. And I crafted strength, and then I attribute it with the catalyst to make it hit 30. Because all I needed was 29 strength, so I crafted 25 strength and then just boosted it up with attributes, whatever. And it gave me that 111 that I needed to run damage on full life. Right? So that's great. On this ring, you want to put elemental catalyst to get that cold damage boost. And then the big chunk motherfucker that took me a while to buy is a Pandemonius. This is amazing because it gives you cold damage, blinds guaranteed, and the magic penetration that you can then boost from 20 to 24 with elemental catalyst. This is insane because we do not have a lot of penetration in this build. We're not using Awakened Gold Pen. And it's the highest damage amulet by far. So yes, you don't need it. I didn't use it until I was level 89, but once you put it on, oh god, you feel the difference in damage. So invest into one. I recommend it ideally. So please don't complain about your shit to your DPS if you don't have at least a Pandemonius. And with that, what you want to anoint is basically this is the highest ES node you can get. But it is 2 golds. In the meantime, you can get Sanctity, which is only a black and 2 blues, which gives you a decent amount of energy shield. That's your cheapest energy shield health one. So use this one until you have enough money to buy 2 gold ones and use them and then go for that. And that should be enough. For your anointments, you could go for damage, obviously, but we have enough damage. I wanted more. I wanted to hit the 6,000 ES, the magical number 6,000. Ignore that. That was my laptop being stupid. And that pretty much covers our, our gems and our gear. Let me know if you have any questions. If I've heard to mention, the clear is basically the same as single target, but you're dropping the barrage for a chain, right? If you do not have a Death's Opus, then you would have to use drop a damage gem, probably like damage on full life, and put GMP on there. You want to keep energy shield leech so you can leech off, right? And then for your auras, your flask, you want a Quicksilver with movement speed, but I do have a cursed one for cursed maps because I still dash anyway, so I don't really need it that much. So I end up using my cursed one a lot more the majority of the time, but I do have a movement speed one. A sulfur for your immunity to bleed, it gives you damage, and since you're point blank, you're most likely gonna drop the consecrated ground on their bosses and body, and would make them take more higher chance to crit against them, which is great. So just a good node. You can use whatever you want, honestly, phasing whatever the hell you want. But this is just great for damage, and you can use 3 charges, which is awesome. Cinder Swallow, obviously best in slot. You want it gives you energy shield charge on energy shield on kill. They take damage when they're ignited, and since we're critting, they're always going to be ignited if you have a little bit of fire damage like I do. And get the crit one for the maximum amount of DPS. Dying Sun, they're very cheap now, like 50 to 40. I think even 30C, I think, or something like that. Try to get one with reduced charges so you can use it twice without having to, kill enemies. And it gives you 2 additional projectiles, highest DPS, and of course a diamond flask with freeze immunity. And that pretty much covers your flasks. For your Pantheons, of course, get Soul the Brine King, like I mentioned, for stun recovery. And you can use whatever you want for the miner. I just went with Soul Garukon since, you know, we're immune to chaos anyway. We don't need this node. And it gives you a little bit of evade chance. Yeah, why not? And then for your bandits, you want to kill a Lyra because we're a crit build. You want a Lyra and we need the res anyway. Right, and then for my MTX is basically the black and white set. I did get the entire black set from the mystery box. Luckily me, I have the black and white dragon because I'm cool like that. The white character effect, celestial weapon with the Oriath bow makes the bow look black, which is very cool with the white little gems like that. You can't even see the fucking quiver, so it doesn't matter. Black helmet, and those are the Delirium horns from Delirium League, which are fantastic in my opinion. They look absolutely amazing. Right, and then the white and black footprints. So it's basically just the black set with some white stuff in it to give you that cool set. With the auras, of course, the dragon is the white and black. I have the white black set, which I love. Right, and that's pretty much the MTX. So going to the outro. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you there. And with that, guys, that pretty much covers the build from beginning to end. I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. Now, I know my builds can be a little bit complex. I try to perfect them as much as possible for the budget that they're in. Right, so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to answer them or ask them down below in the YouTube comments, or better yet, to actually join the Discord community, because there I can respond from my phone and actually get a notification. Right, so with that, guys, like, subscribe, do whatever you think is best, but I'll catch you in the next build guide or informative video. Flicker is up and coming, so I hope you guys are ready for that. See you guys later. Thanks so much.